Welcome to Just Asia, AHRC TV's weekly human rights program. These are the headlines. Supreme Court of Pakistan disqualifies Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. Police in the Philippines shoot 15 persons, including a mayor, in drug war. 10-year-old rape survivor denied abortion in India. 4 democracy activists arrested in Vietnam for, quote, anti-state activities. No prosecution in acid attack against Indonesia's senior corruption watchdog officer. 4 urgent appeals from Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and India. Welcome to AHRC TV's Just Asia. I'm Jessica Fernando. This week, Just Asia begins with the resignation of Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. The 19th Prime Minister of Pakistan was not allowed to complete his constitutional term of 5 years. The country's Supreme Court disqualified Nawaz Sharif on July 28th for certain property-related financial transactions. The court also called for criminal charges to be filed against Sharif and his family. Under the Constitution of Pakistan, the Prime Minister is elected for 5 years. No elected Prime Minister has completed their constitutional terms. A former Prime Minister, Mr. Gilani, was also dislodged by the Supreme Court in 2012 after he had completed 4 years of his term. There has been concern from senior members of Pakistani civil society about what could be seen as political acts by Pakistan's judiciary. In the bloodiest assault so far in President Duterte's crackdown on drugs, police in the Philippines have shot 15 people on Sunday. The victims included the mayor of the southern city of Ozamiz. Officers are said to have gone to serve warrants to Mayor Reynaldo Parojinog Sr. of Ozamiz City to search his house for the suspected presence of unlicensed firearms when gunmen opened fire on the police, sparking clashes that killed the mayor, his wife, and at least 13 other people. Parojinog, who also faced corruption charges, had denied any links to illegal drugs. He was the 3rd mayor to be killed under Duterte's bloody crackdown, which has left more than 3,000 dead in reported gunfights with police and thousands of other unexplained deaths of suspects. Last year, police officers shot dead Albuera town mayor Rolando Espinosa Sr. inside a jail cell in the central province of Leyte, and a week before that, another mayor and his 9 bodyguards were gunned down, apparently during a firefight on a road in the southern Philippines. Duterte has vowed to defend policemen who would face criminal and human rights charges while cracking down on illegal drugs. He recently ordered a police officer in Espinosa's death to be reinstated after briefly being charged and suspended following the jail killing. While the crackdown has been widely criticized by human rights groups and the international community, Duterte has vowed not to stop until the last drug dealer in the country has been eliminated. In India, the country's Supreme Court has denied a 10-year-old rape survivor from getting an abortion. The child was 32 weeks pregnant, and the Supreme Court relied on the findings of a board of doctors that opined that an abortion would be unsafe for both the girl and the fetus. The law in India allows for abortions of fetuses up to 20 weeks old. If an abortion is sought beyond the 20-week mark, the pregnant woman is required to get a court order. In this case, the district court in Chandigarh had turned down the 10-year-old's abortion plea at 26 weeks. The girl was raped by her maternal uncle over a period of 7 months and reportedly did not know that she was pregnant. Although the perpetrator has been arrested, the case brings the focus back on the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act in India and proposed amendments to it, which would increase the time limit to 24 weeks. The amended act has still not been passed, and the Supreme Court in this case proposed the setting up of medical boards in every state to hear such abortion pleas to reduce the burden on the courts. In Vietnam, 4 members of a pro-democracy group were arrested on charges of attempting to topple the country's one-party state over the weekend. Police took the 4 men, a Protestant pastor, an engineer, a journalist, and a lawyer, into custody on Sunday. They are said to be members of the online group Brotherhood for Democracy. The 4 men have been charged with, quote, carrying out activities aimed at overthrowing the People's Administration, close quote, under Article 79 of Vietnam's Penal Code. If convicted, they could face the death penalty. In a statement issued on Monday, the Brotherhood for Democracy denounced what it called the, quote, suppression, detention, and prosecution, close quotes, of its 4 members, as well as the arrest and imprisonment of several other activists amid an ongoing crackdown on dissent in Vietnam. In particular, authorities have been using Articles 79 and 88 of the Penal Code to detain and jail writers and bloggers. These arrests follow the conviction under Article 88 last week of a prominent activist who was arrested on the 21st of January for posting videos and articles about labor and land issues online, which were described by government prosecutors at her trial as, quote, anti-state propaganda, close quote. She was sentenced to 9 years imprisonment. Last month, a blogger known as Mother Mushroom was convicted under the same charges and sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. She had been arrested in October 2016 for openly voicing her opinions on the deaths of people in police custody, Vietnam's sovereignty over the disputed Paracel and Spratly Islands in the South China Sea, and the government's handling of a toxic waste spill. Rights groups, the United Nations Human Rights Commission, and several governments have demanded their release, saying that the two were convicted on spurious and vague charges. More than 3 months since a senior officer of Indonesia's corruption watchdog became a victim of an acid attack, no one has been prosecuted for the crime. While the police had initially arrested Mr. Niko Panji Tirtayasa as the suspected perpetrator, he was released after 24 hours due to lack of evidence. On 31st July, the police finally released a sketch of the alleged assailant who threw acid at the Corruption Eradication Commission's Novel Baswedan in April. Drawn from eyewitness descriptions, the sketch was released by the police after the Tempo newspaper published the sketch on its front page on Monday. The investigation of the acid attack is not progressing, and President Joko Widodo is reluctant to establish an independent fact-finding team to back up the police investigation. The acid attack against Novel occurred after the Corruption Commission investigated issues relating to the electronic identity card (eKTP) and announced that chairperson of the parliament, Mr. Setia Novanto, was a suspect. Finally, the Urgent Appeals Weekly features 4 cases, and they are from Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and India. In Papua, the Paniai Police Mobile Brigade forcibly dispersed and shot at local Papuans protesting against the Putradeva Paniai Company. In Sri Lanka, there have been 2 cases of police shootings aimed at persons on the road, which the police subsequently have claimed were attempted arrests. In the first case, in Kerala district, Mr. Manjula was waiting in front of the Mayaprada Central College when the police unexpectedly shot him in the leg. He was then taken to hospital for emergency treatment. No investigation has yet been carried out regarding the attempt on his life, though police claim that they were in the process of arresting Manjula. In the second case, also in Kerala district, Mr. Rajamuni Gunadasa was walking along the Kandy Colombo main road when he was shot dead by police officers attached to the Varakapola police station. No investigation has yet been carried out into his death, and the police claim that Gunadasa was escaping arrest. Lastly, in West Bengal, India, another civilian has been disappeared at the hands of the Border Security Force, officers at the Indo-Bangladesh border. In the span of a decade, there have been over 1,000 civilian deaths at the hands of BSF personnel in this area. That is all for this episode of Just Asia. For more on these and other issues, please visit www.humanrights.asia or www.ahlrc.asia/justasia. Thank you for watching and see you next week.